Hi, welcome to Beef Cattle Institute's Ask the Experts, where our experts will answer your questions. I'm Brad White, and happy to have a couple experts with me today. Dr. Dustin Pendle, who works here in Ag Econ. Hi, Dustin.
Hello, Brad.
And Callahan Grun, who's the Executive Director of U.S. Cattle Trace. Hi, Callahan.
Hi, Brad.
So our format in this is we have a question from a listener, and as always, if you want to send in a question, you can send us an email at bci@ksu.edu. And our experts get a chance to answer that question, and they'll get up to 10 points based on their answers. So, Dustin, I'm going to turn to you first. Our question for today is from a listener that asked, does it pay to tag my calves?
And I'm going to give you an answer that you don't like, and that's it depends. And it depends. It's yes and no. Yes, as a producer, I will use the information from the tag in making my own kind of farm management records, using that information to make decisions on my own operation. No, it's not necessarily going to get me a premium when I take the calves to the auction, I think. So that's my answer. It's yes and no.
Okay. Yes and no doesn't really help me. So I'm not going to give a lot of points for that. You maybe you can make up in the second round, but right now you're sitting at 4. Callahan, does it pay to tag my calves?
Well, I'm not an economist by trade, so I can say yes and definitively say yes to it. But to Dustin's point there, I think it does, it does help in terms of the management decisions and how you can utilize it on your operation. Now, you can also be part of programs to do the things associated with that ear tag that do pay when you move on to those, whether it's a feeder cattle marketing program. There's a lot of good ones out there like that. I don't want to discriminate against any of those. But tagging those cattle, you can not only on your own operation, maybe the absence of the premium there that you get associated with that tag, make better decisions to increase profitability on your operation. But on the other side of it, there are some programs out there where you tag your cattle, whether it's a VAC 45 program, whether it's a genetic program that you're a part of. Some of those opportunities of tagging that cattle, that tag is associated with the management practices that you did that can increase the profitability of those animals.
Excellent. So, Dustin, I'm going to turn back to you. And as a follow-up question, we'll go on the yes side. What are some of the potential opportunities if I tag my calves?
So some of the opportunities, so I visited with a producer, a sheep producer, not cattle, but he had, I want to say 10, 20,000 ewes that he'd bring down out of the mountains in the Rockies. And they had tags, and he would use it specifically when he wanted to cull the ram. So he would actually get all the carcass data back, and he would then say, okay, he would tie those to the certain rams, and he said, from a carcass standpoint, that's how they made their decisions on which rams to cull and which rams to keep.
So you got to have those tags to get that
need
data.
The tags, and then you need to work out kind of an agreement with the feedlot and with the packer to get that data back to you. So that's just one example. A second example, visited with a cattle producer in Canada. They would record anytime with vaccinations, anything. So then when they sent it on to the feedlot, they had that information, and I think they were actually getting a premium because they were part of a program. And so there are examples of when you could for sure use this to make money, get a premium.
But it's not just a sales premium. It is you're using the data to make better decisions, and that's where you actually get paid.
Exactly. Yep.
So 2 concrete examples and a good place to use some of those tags puts you back in the lead with your 8 to Callahan's 7. Callahan?
I think to that point, though, as well, those cattle are worth more in some of those situations because they have done the extra steps needed on their operation to do that. And as we look at progressing the whole cattle industry forward into producing, we currently produce the highest quality, best tasting, safest product in the whole world. But as we continue to make that so much more uniform across the industry, those practices are really important. And like we've talked about before, historically, ID is really a core component of measuring anything as you look at that across that opportunity. So it does pay in terms of measuring that, to Dustin's point, to really move the profitability line for your operation moving forward.
Excellent answer. And believe it or not, Dustin, Callahan just snuck past you, ended up with 9 to your 8. And I think the point here is ID, and Dustin, I'm going to go back to, I gave you grief about it, but you're absolutely right. There are times that it will pay and there are times that it won't. Figure it out for your operation. Find out what fits and how it can fit in on your operation. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys answering that listener question. And as always, if you have questions, you can send us an email at bci@ksu.edu.